I have been, reviewing the resume of people, and I have reviewed more than 100 resumes now. And I can tell you from my experience that people tend to write a lot of what I call nonsensical stuff there in their profile summary and in their resume as well. Let me give you an example to tell what I mean.
Hello and welcome everyone. Hope you're keeping well and staying safe. This is Hafsa Anjum and I am working as a community executive at Recro, wherein we are working towards building an exclusive community for developers to help you get connected with like-minded people, build your network, and grow professionally. So those who don't know about what Recro is, it is a developer-focused platform helping developers to meet the right opportunity by connecting them with fast-growing startups such as CureFit, Udan, Swiggy, Dunzo, etc. So welcome to Recro Talks again. And today we are having a session on building a job-winning resume. Our guest speaker for today is Nidhi Sharma. She's a software development engineer too at Adobe. She's official LinkedIn content creator. She was a part of the LinkedIn Creator Accelerator program of 2022. She creates content on interview preparations, mental health, and self development. She has grown her account from 5K to 35K and community of developers right now. And in the last 9 months, which is amazing, she has delivered 20 plus talks in one-to-one sessions. And we are very glad to have you, Nidhi, today. And you can go ahead and say hi to the audience.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Hafsa, for having me here.
Yeah. So before we start, I would like to make some announcements. You can post your questions in the question section, Q&A tab on your screen, and not on the chat section, guys. People who are joining us on, please make sure that your questions are in the Q&A tab because we might miss out your questions in the chat section. And I'll be rolling out the feedback form in between. So please make sure that you answer the feedback and let us know how do you like the session and what's something that you want to have in our future sessions of our Recro Talks. Now, keep your notepad handy, and whatever you're learning from today's session, please make sure that you post it on your LinkedIn and tag Recro, tag Nidhi, tag me, and we'll be good to go. Yes, I think we can get started, Nidhi. Let me know if you could share your screen.
Sure. Thank you. I hope my screen is visible.
Oh, yes, we can see it. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Okay. First of all, thank you everyone for joining in. It's just an absolute privilege to be here. So today's webinar is going to be about building a job-winning resume. Of course, it is relevant for anybody who is working in the industry or who plans to work in the industry. So before actually, I love this quote that before actually you reach to the recruiter, your resume reaches there first. So working on a resume and making it job-winning resume is something which is very important for every professional. So welcome to this webinar and let's get started. So the agenda for today's webinar is going to be what is written here. First of all, we will learn everything about what resume is and how you can build a job-winning resume, how to build an effective resume, what are different platforms and formats that you can use for building your resume and making it effective. Then if there are any gaps in your resume, how to fill in that gap by, learning certain courses or doing certain certification courses. We'll be sharing, things around that. Then what are the key points that you should keep in mind while you are going for job hunting? And finally, how networking can help you here, how you can use platforms like LinkedIn, which are so powerful in helping you network and land you a job of your dreams. So in case you face any difficulty or anything which is not clear to you, you can type in the chat and Hafsa will be helping me, understand the question and I'll be happy to help there, right? So don't hesitate there. Okay. So first of all, what a resume is. So it's very important, but before actually you start creating your resume, it's very important that you understand what it is and what is the purpose of creating a resume. So unless you understand that, you will not be able to create an effective resume. So a resume is a short document which basically consists of three things. One is your professional background. It doesn't have to do anything with your personal information. No, your personal information like your home address, like your mother's name, your father's name, number of siblings, your height, none of this is required. It's only your professional background, right? What skill set you have, be it technical, non-tech, your skills which is relevant for the job, for getting you a job, right? And lastly, it's about your education, right? Where have you studied from? What was your major? And all of those things. So professional background, skills, and education. These three things together summarizes a short document which is called your resume, right? So it's basically a snapshot of your career so far. In case you might say that I am a fresher, so it may be a snapshot of your education, your background, professional background, which may be consisting of what have you, studied, where have you done your internships from, what were the projects that you worked upon, right? And finally, it is a determining factor in whether you will land an interview and thereafter a job or not. Okay. So a job search is just like a journey, and your stellar resume is just like a passport. So no matter how much badly and desperately you want to travel across the world, if you do not have a passport, it's not possible. Simple as that. No matter how desperately you are looking for job, if you do not have a good resume, you'll not be shortlisted and called for the interviews, right? Yeah. So let's learn some of the tricks and tips on how to build an effective resume, right? So these are certain key points which I have, researched around and tried to summarize them. So understand them very carefully. First, you will start making your resume with a profile summary, right? And profile summary, do not keep it, long and boring and full of paragraphs, full of words. No, it's not the right way. So basically, what you do is you keep it very short, sweet, and informative, which basically means that you will be trying to capture a lot of information, but in the very less number of words, right? That is very challenging. So it's not like you have to make a resume in 1 hour or 2 hours for that matter. You have to invest your time and do the research, note down the points which are relevant, and then express them in as few words as possible, right? Do not write paragraphs around it. Just try to describe your information and your profile in bullet points, right? And emphasize more on your technical background, not the soft skills. So I have been, reviewing the resume of people, and I have reviewed more than 100 resumes now. And I can tell you from my experience that people tend to write a lot of what I call nonsensical stuff there in their profile summary and in their resume as well. Let me give you an example to tell what I mean. So when I say just mention your technical background and not your soft skills, I mean you do not mention like I am smart, hardworking, creative, caring, this and that. No, nobody cares and nobody would trust you for that, right? Once you have to showcase these things or these skills through some of the works or projects that you have done in the past. Okay, so just emphasize on that part, not emphasize on your professional experience or maybe your technical background, not the soft skills. Like, do not clearly mention the traits that you have, right? So, this is what it means. Next point become use as few words as possible. As I already mentioned, that do not use paragraphs. It would be the last thing that any person or any recruiter would want to read. As a recruiter, those are very what you call lazy. So they are not skimming through they are not reading your resume. Actually, they are just skimming through it. Okay. A fun fact is that any recruiter just spends 6 to 7 seconds on one resume, so you can understand that you are spending your maybe 2 to 3 days or maybe a week creating that beautiful page, which you call your resume, but your recruiter will be just spending 6 to 7 seconds on that resume. They just skim it through and they just look for important information, right? So do not mention those paragraphs. Use as less words as possible because it makes them understand what your background is, and just their eye will be able to catch only those key points if less words are used, right? And just, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to go through your job description before actually going to create a resume for that job, right? So basically, what happens is people tend to submit the same resume for all the jobs that they are going to apply for, right? It is such a stupid idea. It is not going to land you anywhere for that matter, right? So it's very important that you go through the job description well and then understand what the requirement is and then tailor made your resume. Understand the importance of tailor made resumes, right? It's not like you will be creating one resume, will not update it for the next 6 months, and it will be relevant for all the jobs. No, it doesn't happen like that. Okay. After that, in the job description, there are certain keywords, just like we are looking for a Java developer, for example, right? So what happens is basically you have to maybe bold those points or maybe use them clearly, explicitly mention on your resume, so that this is a requirement, right, that the recruiter is searching for and you have that thing. Okay, so why not you know sell it? You are just selling things that they are interested in, right? So through your resume you are doing exactly that. Okay, so highlight the buzzwords and use them, right? Whatever they are searching for, just tell them that you own it, and that's why you should be given a chance. Okay, now there is a subtle way in which you can mention your accomplishments. Okay, just understand these three things: quantify, reflect, and articulate, right? First of all, it's very important that you just do not, while mentioning your projects, you just do not write paragraphs. I'm again saying this thing. People happen to say, I have worked on blah, 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 blah. I just use this and that thing. We were a team of 10 people. I was the lead, this and that. No, before that, it's very important that before mentioning that particular project, you quantify, reflect, and articulate these three things, right? Now, what does that mean actually? You quantify what is the impact that that project or anything that you mentioned is going to is did, right? Second, you reflect on that numbers and then you articulate that well in your resume, right? You quantify that as much as possible. Say for example, you want to mention that I worked on that project and it saved some time, right? So some time is not good enough to say it, not good enough to mention on your resume, right? So how do I mention that? Okay, you can say somewhat like, I worked on building a tool that saved multiple teams or maybe customer care teams time and by 30% and increased their productivity by 50%. So now this is clearly stating the kind of impact that your tool made on certain teams' life, right? And on return, it increased the revenue of the business. And this is exactly what the recruiters are looking for. Okay, so it's very important that you quantify the results or impacts of your projects before actually going ahead and mentioning them. Nobody is interested that to know whether it was a team of 10 people or 8 people. No, I am just interested in the part that you played in doing that project. Okay. After that, you speak in the hiring manager's language. What does that mean? I already mentioned that if they are looking for XYZ technology, if they are looking for XYZ experience and you own it, right? So you clearly, explicitly mention it. You tailor made your resume. You tell that I am a Java 8 developer and I have an experience of 5 years. And that is exactly what they're looking for. So the moment they match their job description with your resume, they will call you for interview, right? They will be ready to give you a chance. So speak in the hiring manager's language. And at the very last, proofread your resume several times because there should not be any grammatical mistakes or any typos. It looks very bad, right? For a professional who is going to handle a lot of responsibility, pressure. is going to go out in the industry and perform a lot of responsible role, a lot of things, it looks very stupid that you are not intelligent enough or maybe smart enough to cross check what you have written, right? So there should not be any space for typos or misspellings whenever you are finalizing your resume. Now you can also say that I'm not that good at English, maybe. So what do I do? It's okay. It's okay. Nobody is asking you to be an expert in English or something like that, right? But there are certain softwares you should be smart enough that you will be using them, right? There is one very kind of my favorite, which I happen to use a lot. That's called Grammarly, and it's free of cost to use, right? There's definitely a pro version of it, but you do not require that. Okay, so you can, and there comes an extension, Chrome extension of that tool as well, so you can install that Chrome extension. The name is Grammarly, if you're able to understand, right? So always be very transparent and honest, and I try to bold it and I increase the font as well for this line. The reason is, as a recruiter, somebody who has an experience of 15 to 20 years, or maybe 5 years, or any number of years, right? We become intelligent enough that we can very clearly identify somebody who is faking it and somebody who is being honest, right? Maybe not through the resume. Maybe you are mentioning a thousands of skills that you have and that you own on your resume, and we call you for interview, right? And once I start asking the question, I will be, through your first two lines only, I'll be able to understand whether you know it or you are just faking it, right? So always not try to be, always be transparent and honest on your resume. After all, resume is going to be the thing that you will be asked questions from, right? So in case you mention like XYZ technology, just because your friend mentioned it doesn't mean that you know it, right? And once you're going to be asked questions around that technology, you'll be quiet, and that will show or maybe convey a message to your recruiter or your interviewer that you just fake it, or you are dishonest, you are unethical person, and nobody wants to hire somebody who is not honest or who is unethical. Okay, so I hope that you've understood now the very basics of it, what resume is. I'll just pause here for a moment and would like to take any questions that we might have so far. Hafsa?
Oh, yeah. So I think we do have one question
Sure.
and on LinkedIn, and it says, um, so we have gaps in our resume, I guess, right? So everyone
Mhm.
has gaps in the resume. So how to deal with the gaps when you have the resume? So that's one
Sure.
question.
Right. If I may hold this question for a while, in the next two slides only, I'll be answering that, and I'll be giving the entire, roadmap on how to fill in those gaps in the job description and your skill set. Right. So I'd like to hold it for a minute.
Yes. So one thing is, I guess you kind of pointed it out, but we do have a question which says, what are some common mistakes that job seekers make in their resume and how can we avoid them? I think you kind of
Sure, sure.
mentioned that already, but just a glimpse for the person who was asking this. Yeah.
So yeah, so the mistakes, one is using the paragraphs and not bullets. This is a blunder, whenever you are, first of all, being a fresher or being and having an experience of less than maybe 10 years, right? So having a person who is having an experience of less than 10 years, I think one page resume is enough. You know, it is enough to showcase what all skill set you own or what all projects you have worked upon, right? As you move forward in your career, you mentioned the latest things that you have mentioned, that you have done so far, right? And relevant experience you mentioned there. Okay. So, first of all, in one page, you cannot fit in a lot of things. So, what people tend to do, and freshers especially tend to do, they start mentioning that in the paragraphs, which is a wrong thing, right? You have to be diverse while you are creating your resume. You cannot just go on blah 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 10 lines of, or maybe 15 lines of description over the same thing. No, don't do that. Maybe just three bullets are good enough to describe anything for that matter. Not quantifying enough is second point, right? You just mentioned that I worked in this and that, and you endlessly start mentioning the things around that project. No, you don't have to mention that. You just quantify the impact. That's all that matters, right? You quantify the impact, you catch the attention of the recruiter, and you are called for the interview. Simple as that. If you're mentioning on your resume that you increase the productivity of a team by 50%, it itself says that you created something which is meaningful, right? So it catches the eyes of your recruiter, and they'll definitely call you for interviews, right? And the third and very last thing is using the same resume for for filling out forms of multiple different jobs. It's such a blunder, right? You cannot apply for two different roles or maybe for two different jobs using one single resume. You have to tailor made it, no matter how good your resume looks like. You can always find new things in job description one, and in job description two there will be two different things that you will find, right? And you have to tailor made your resume accordingly. So do not use the same resume. It's not a You reuse your code. Okay, we tend to uh, read it a lot that reusability of code is something which we should do, but do not reuse your resume. Yeah,
Okay, we do have more questions. Can you provide a sample resume at the end of the session?
sure,
Mm,
sure.
yeah.
Sure. Of course, I will share the link here. So, see, the thing is basically, I have not used any sample resume here on purpose in my slides. The reason being, I do not want to show that this resume format is better than the other one, right? There are a lot of templates, and some person might like two column format. Some people like to keep it very simple in MS Word. Both are okay as long as you are not doing a lot of animation there and you are putting the right information there and using the white space logically, right, and effectively. So any just like this slide, right? That on the right hand side I've just mentioned everything in the bullet points, right? So this is I'm trying to use the white space very deliberately and consciously. So this is how maybe you can create a resume. No, not a lot of animations, not a lot of bold characters or words. So, and try to avoid paragraphs, simple, the things that I already mentioned, right?
Yeah. So I think if you could just provide, just in case, I think I can
Yeah,
mark
sure,
down in our
sure.
community. So I think I kind of gave the community link in the chat. So guys, please do join over there, and I'll also share the recording in the community itself. So please do join there.
Of
And
course.
yeah, the next question is, what can we write for freshers in terms of experience?
So, see, the thing is basically everybody must have started their careers somewhere, right? Without any experience, right? Some previously in the past, right? A recruiter who is having an experience of 25 years right now must have started their career without any experience, right? At certain point in their career, right? So the thing is basic that the point that I'm trying to make is it's okay. First of all, you are a beginner. You'll be paid a salary accordingly. Okay, it's not like you will be given crores of rupees immediately when you join, right? So it's okay to not have prior experience. It's good that you can mention. It's good if you have an internship, you can mention in your internship experience. In case you do not have an internship experience, it's okay too. You can showcase your skill set through your projects, right? Not having prior experience, professional experience, it's okay, but having um, an alternative to that, right? Having projects to showcase what all technologies what all skill set you acquire, that's very important. So you can express that through your projects. So
Yeah.
mention projects. Yeah,
Yeah. We have one interesting question from live, and
sure.
I think it's Hirish. And he says, being a person with 15 plus years of experience, how can we summarize the same in one page? How can we summarize the resume and experience and everything that you've got in one page?
Right. So a person who is having 15 plus years of experience, one page will not do justice. And I keep saying that it's not it's for a person who is having 15 plus experience. I think it's kind of flexible. People are flexible enough to use two pages. In case you use 1 to 2 pages of resume, that's good enough because you have accumulated so much of knowledge, so much of experience that it's very difficult to put it and present it on one single page. So it's okay. Nobody is going to, penalize you or maybe deduct marks for you when you use 2 pages resume. Just make sure that you do not explain too much, as I already mentioned, right? Use bullet points and try to be crisp. And one more point I would like to make here is, as you keep growing in your profession, right? As you keep on increasing, maybe going up the ladder of your career. Okay, so just, I mean, keep dropping the prior things, right? What I mean is, as a fresher, you might mention your class 12 marks, right? You might mention your graduation marks, because they are the things that are your key achievements so far. You do not have any experience. You do not have any professional experience as a fresher, right? With 0 years of experience, of course. So you would want to mention your class 12 marks or maybe graduation marks, okay? So because that's your achievement. With a person with 15 plus years of experience, this doesn't make sense, right? So keep dropping the things which are very old and which does not make sense in the industry. You might want to mention only those projects, or maybe better to mention the latest projects, right? Which through which you have made a better impact on the business, and which you feel like this was an achievement, right?
Yes. Yeah. Okay, that was the second question, and then we have, should we show in clients' projects? Example, I'm working for a company A and they have a client B. Shall I put projects done for client B?
Yeah, so very interesting question. What happened is, let me try to answer this through a story. So what happened is, although I did not do any internship, but one of my friends did an internship at XYZ company, and when she was getting ready for FTE placements, right, full time employee placements, she did not mention a lot of information regarding the project that she did in her internship at XYZ company, right? And although she was selected, okay, she cleared the coding round and she was called for the interview. And during the interview, the interviewer asked her the question, that why did you not mention the details of this project that you did, right? And I want to know more about it. But since there are certain security compliance that you have to meet if you do certain project in XYZ company, so due to security compliance, you cannot actually, and legal compliance as well, you cannot actually expose a lot of information regarding that. So you are free to mention, and you can always mention that due to legal and security compliances, I'm not allowed to speak a lot about this, but I can always tell you the tech stack that I used, and maybe the idea that we had before actually finalizing this tech stack or the architecture or things like that. So things which doesn't harm the project and the company, you can mention them. Otherwise, you can always skip the question telling that there are some certain legal aspect to it.
Okay, that was an amazing take. And one more question, Nidhi, and that is,
Sure.
I don't have a formal degree and he's a dropout. What can I mention as my highest education qualification?
Sure. Again, I have a lot of stories, so I would like to answer this through a story. Very recently, I had an interesting one-on-one mentorship session with this guy who had around 11 years of career gap, right? He went for taking care of XYZ things, right? And he came back, and now he wants to, after 11 years of struggle and XYZ things, he now wants to join IT firm, right? He has a relevant degree, but he has a lot of career gap. What So he comes with the question, what do I do? Should I fake in my resume? What do I do? Right? A similar question. I do not have a degree. Should I fake one? I do not have a relevant experience. Should I fake one? Definitely not. Right? As I previously mentioned, that being honest can be a key point in can play a key role in getting you hired, right? So always be honest. Some people get hired only on the basis of honesty, right? So it's very important that you are honest. At the very same time, you need to have relevant skill set, right? So there are two things, right? First, there are certain companies which are so particular about the degree and marks, they do not even give an opportunity for people to get interviewed at their firm, right? So you have to very clearly make a list of all those target companies which are not very, particular or rigid about the degrees. First of all, you have to find all those companies or make those your target companies who are kind of flexible with the degrees, who only care more about the skill set. Now, having said that, be honest and find the right set of target companies for yourself. You can do certain courses or certification courses from Udemy or from other websites, LinkedIn Learning, and there are a lot of other websites. Any online course you can join, and you can maybe offline as well, and you can gain the relevant skill set, right? Skill set is something which is very important. Even if you do not have a degree, there are certain companies who will be ready to interview you on the basis of your skill set. And if you pass their questions and interview round, they'll be happy to offer you a job, right?
Yes. Okay, the next one is, I think, the question which we already got earlier, which was tips for career gap candidates. And I think you have a presentation regarding how you can deal with it, right? So I think we can skip this
Right.
question and then you can
Sure.
uh, maybe like ensure that you're doing it in the next slide,
Right.
covering it in the next
Fine.
slide.
Sure. Thank you, Hafsa. And thank you everyone for your questions. Really great questions. So let's move ahead and in continuation to the tips that I was giving to making an effective resume. So there's this method which is kind of my favorite and which kind of helps you put everything of your project, the project that you do. I get a lot of questions regarding how can I actually present a project that I worked upon for nearly a year or maybe 6 months in just 3 bullet points. How can you say that I can put it in 3 bullet points? The answer to that question is the slide, right? Use the car method. You can use the car method and you can use 3 bullet points and your work is done. You will be able to present your project in very simple terms, right? So what this car method is, I'll just try to explain it using an example, right? First of all, let's understand what CAR actually stand for. One is a C. C stands for challenge, A stands for action, and R stands for result, right? Challenge is basically whenever you do any project or you solve any problem statement, right? There is certain situation that you are trying to address. There is certain problem or there is certain issue that you are trying to resolve, right? So first of all, just think about the problem statement. Think about why you picked up this problem and you worked upon it for a period of 6 months, 3 months, 1 year, right? Once you're clear, just note it down. That is your challenge. That is C, right? Now, after that, action. Okay. So, in order to resolve that problem, what all actions or steps you took, right? That is your action. Maybe you solve that problem by writing a software. You solve that problem by maybe collecting 5 people to volunteer for that, and you went there, talked to people in person. Anything, any action that you took in order to address that challenge, right? So that is your action. And finally, result or impact. Okay, what was the outcome of those actions that you performed in order to address that challenge, right? That is your result or impact. In the previous slide, I mentioned about quantify, reflect, and articulate. So that is exactly what result means. Okay, you quantify that number. You tell them that I saved 500 people's time. Okay, 3 hours every day per day, or maybe you say that I increased their productivity by 3%, which is a big number, right? And I addressed the problem of 5,000 people through this, and they were happy customers. So you are quantifying the impact, and it matters. The last point, which is result or impact of your project, matters a lot, right? Recruiter only care about the impact or the quantification that you do. They don't care about whether you used Java technology or whether you use Python to solve that particular problem, right? In interviews, definitely they'll be asking questions around the technology for sure. But whenever a recruiter is looking at the resume, reading the resume, they care about numbers, right? One student who mentions that I made a great impact on their resume versus the second person or second student who mentions that I increased their productivity by 50%. Okay? The chances are that the second person gets the chance of getting interviewed for the job. Reason being, the quantification of the impact is very clearly done by student B. Okay, so it's very important that whenever you do any project, you talk to people, you talk to your bosses, and understand the kind of business impact that this project has, right? And mention that over your resume. Sometimes there might be, as I already mentioned, legal obligations to that. So you might want to not present the exact numbers, but round it off. Say you cannot mention 5,333, but you can mention maybe around in thousands. Okay, I helped thousands of people for that matter. So no legal security obligations that you have to take care of, but you represented the impact as well. Okay, so keep it clear and concise. Do not try to do blah 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 thing. There will be interview. There will be a different time slot that will be given to you to go through the details of that project. But in resume, keep it short, keep it bulleted. Okay. Now, there are certain resume building platforms that I like so very much. So before actually going through the slide, I would like to present a disclaimer here that the priority order of these platforms is insignificant. I do not, recommend HackerRank over Canva just because it is mentioned in the same order, right? No order is there. You can use any platform which you like, and all of these platforms are free of cost. You can go to any platform, create your resume, download your resume, right? And there are certain templates of resumes available on each website, right? So you make sure that you go through them and try to find out a relevant template which suits your personality, when which you like, right? And try to I will share certain tips around how to select the best template for you, right? So basically, while selecting the template, make sure to understand that as somebody who is just spending 6 to 7 seconds on a resume, the recruiter do not want a lot of distractions, a lot of animation, a lot of colors, pictures, this and that, font variations, and all of those things. We want a very simple resume with black, ink, or very simple, very basic fonts with the information clearly written over there. And we do not want any animations or over highlighting of the words, right? So search for a simple resume template. And there are two basically very famous types of templates that we come across on these platforms. One is two-column resume. So what happens is in one column, you have certain things, and in another column, so a page is divided into two columns, right? So this side you write certain things, this side you write certain things, right? So this is template type A. In the template type B, what happens is the entire page is used in one go. So you mention the lines and it runs from left hand side to right hand side. Simple. Just like we write in our notebooks, right? We start from the left and we end it on the right, right? So just a simple page, right? So either of the two, no discrimination here, whichever you like most, whichever you feel like it is more kind of presenting myself and things like that, you can go with that. Okay. So hacker resume over lead score, my CV, my perfect resume, resume now, resume worded, any you can use, right? And in fact, one more, the beauty of these platforms is that they happen to provide the templates based on your experience and the role that you're applying for, right? And already they provide you template with certain keywords mentioned there, right? So you do not have to actually mention the sections. Say for example, as a fresher or as a software developer, you are trying to create your resume, right? So you will be mentioning first of all your professional experience. Okay, experience. In case you do not have any experience, you will start with your education, then you will come to skill set, then your extracurricular activities, NGO activities, your tech stack, anything for that matter. So your sections are already mentioned there, so you do not have to do research around that. So they make it very easy for you to create a resume. But after all, it's your resume. It should reflect your personality, your experience well. So think about the projects that you should mention versus the project that you can filter out. Okay. And read the job description well before actually going ahead, create the resumes. Now, I'll take a pause here and would like to know if there are any questions regarding the last two slides that I covered. Hafsa?
Yes. I think we do have a few questions, and which says
Sure.
what to write when we want to switch domains and doesn't have much experience in that domain.
Yeah, I'm also struggling with this. So what happens is basically I am an engineer right now, and I would want to transition to product management, right? And I do not have a relevant degree, which is MBA degree for that, and I do not have valid experience as well, or maybe what I call any experience. I do not have any experience at all. So what do I do? How do I transition from X role to Y role? This is a very valid question, right? So what happens is basically you can, since you want to transition, you have an interest there, right? So take up some side projects, maybe do an internship in your part time, or maybe take up some side projects, or do them on your own, or maybe in a team, right? For that matter, and just play that role. Play the role, right? Even though you do not have a title of PM, you play the role of PM in certain projects or pick up the projects or maybe do certain certification courses to show that you have an interest and you're working on them, right? So this could be a very effective way of showing that along with the job that you're doing, you are interested into transitioning into Y role and you are working super hard, on your end as much as you can do to transition that role, right? And you have enough skill set to transition into that particular role, and I think you will be able to capture the attention of recruiter. But again, as I already mentioned, there are certain companies who are very particular about having a degree from premium colleges and that. So you need to narrow down your search and get get a list of all those target companies which are flexible enough to give you a chance. I hope that answers.
Yes, yes. So we have one more question. I think after
Sure.
that we can continue the presentation. And he
Sure.
says, "Hi, I'm a front-end developer. I design pages with React and Tailwind CSS. How to describe it in my resume where it's no T engaging as much?"
Okay. So first of all, just like you mentioned that you are a front-end developer. So I very much like the honesty. You're not calling yourself as the full stack developer. That's one thing, right? You know your front end, certain technologies around that. So do mention that I am a front end developer. I have done this project, right? And the tech stack that I used. So HTML, CSS, maybe React.js, whatever you've done or you've worked with, right? And as I mentioned, use the car method. Do mention the impact as well. Okay. So using the tech stack, you will be telling that I know this technology. Using the impact, you'll be telling that I did this project and I made impact in this people, these many people, and whatever the kind of impact that you did, right? And through the front end developer, you were just targeting that particular role only. So you are mentioning that you've done this project, so you are looking for a front end role only. Okay, so these key points you can use while mentioning this.
Yeah. And we do have few questions, but I think we can continue with the presentation for now, and then we'll take up on the questions at the end.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for those questions, everyone. So Hafsa, I think earlier someone in the chat asked this question: how to fill in the gap in your resume in your career, right? And I holded that question now. I would like to answer this using the slide, right? So first of all, I divide it into three sections, right? Job description, prioritize, and demonstrate, right? So when I say read the job description, right? So I actually mean that read it carefully. Read it, I mean detailed reading. Okay, it's not just the superficial reading. It's very detailed and careful reading that you need to do of the job description. So first of all, the very first step would be make a list of target companies that you want to go to and that match what you actually own, right? Somebody mentioned that I do not have a degree. So I said that make a list of target companies who are flexible enough to give you an opportunity, to give an opportunity to people without a degree, right? So Google is one such company. They have very recently started their program wherein they do not ask for any degree. If you're a teacher, if you know coding, eh, uh, if your resume is good enough, if you own that skill set, it's okay. They will just give you a chance to get interviewed, and if they like your skill set, they will hire you, right? So make a list of target companies. This would be your number one step. Number two step is go through your job description. Go through a lot of job descriptions, of the role that you're targeting and that you're interested in, right? So you made a list of 10 target companies for SDE role, right? Software development engineer role. Now you just open their job descriptions of previous openings, right? Not the current. That's okay. One maybe 6 years old openings that are now closed, right? The You can go through them, and the idea behind that would be to understand what is actually their eligibility and desirability criteria. Okay, what is that eligibility criteria that you have to meet if you want to land a job into that company? Okay, so read the job description well. Pay attention to all those things that they are asking for. What is the skill set that they want, right? And list down those things, right? List down the skill set that they are asking for, and that now make a list of all those things that you have, right? And all those list of things that you do not have, right? So we have three lists. One is what the companies, target companies, are asking for, one that you own, and one that you do not own. Okay, three different lists. So this is what you get out of the first activity, which is reading the job description well and coming up with these three lists. Now we come to the next point, which is prioritizing. So what happens is now you have a list of all those things that you already have, that you already own, right? Say, for example, some job description says we need an experience in Python, or we need an understanding of Python language, right? And along with that, we need somebody who knows Linux, for example. So you have programming experience with Python, right? So this is something that you already have, but Linux experience you do not have. You do not know Linux commands and all those things. So prioritize, okay? So rank all those things in the order that is asked, right? That these are the things that I have to work upon, right? And then figure out the classes or the courses that are available online. A lot of things are available online. Multiple different courses are available free of cost, or maybe certain package courses are also available, and you need to find out the relevant classes for yourself, or maybe certification courses, uh, and upskill yourself, acquire those skills that you lack in. Okay, so the third thing that is demonstrate those skills on your resume. Now, after having acquired the skills that are required, right, now you have the skill set, now you demonstrate that on your resume. And this was your journey from getting from being unaware to now being ready for giving interviews or sitting in the interviews, right? So again, four steps. One is creating the target companies that will be ready to give you a chance based upon your background, professional background, and the skill set that you have. Read the job description well in detailed manner. Pay attention. Third thing is prioritize. After creating the list, prioritize the skill set that you need to have in order to land a job, right? And fourth final is mention those skills on your resume, right? A fun fact that I already shared, I think, is that an employer on an average looks for 6 to 7 seconds on any resume, right? So you make sure that you use those 6 to 7 seconds very effectively. Now remember one thing, that nobody cares about the projects that you did so far. Nobody cares about the where did you do an internship from, right? Nobody cares about that. You will definitely, once you join the industry, you will be doing a different work there. You will be working on the projects which are ongoing, or maybe will be started new in that form, which will be related to that organization. Your previous projects, your previous things do not matter. But what matters here is the fact that you're a continuous quick learner, right? You learn things, you are very curious to learn, you have that zeal to understand things, solve problems. These things matter, right? So once you have that list that I talked about previously, right? The list of all those things that you need to learn in order to get that job, right? Once you take those classes and learn those things, you and then you mention those things, on your resume, that I have done certification course, this and that. And during your interview as well, this increases your chances of getting selected. Now you would ask why, how and why. So basically, you are a constant learner. You are showing your recruiter or your interviewer that you are constantly evolving and upskilling yourself, right? And this is exactly what the employers are looking for, right? So it's very important that you keep upskilling yourself, right? So while you are searching for a job, there are certain things that you need to keep in mind, right? First of all, it's very important that you are aware of the opportunities that are there in your surrounding. Okay. So most of the jobs that are there and which might interest you are never publicized, right? The reason is because there are a lot of candidates out in the market and there are very few or very less number of openings available, so they do not need to publicize it so much. It's not like they're selling their product, right? Once they're selling their product and you are their target audience, तो वो पागल हो जाएंगे, वो ऐसे पीछे पड़ जाएंगे, हमारा सामान ले लो, ये ले लो, वो ले लो. But now they are paying you for the work that you'll be doing, right? And there are a lot of people who want jobs. Okay, so they are never publicized, and you will not be able to know if you're not aware. So be aware, subscribe to the right pages, be on the right present on the right platforms, right? Use the websites on which these companies post their openings, just like Naukri.com, Indeed.com, and one is LinkedIn. Of course, it is such a powerful platform. I cannot emphasize enough, and it can, if used, this is a provided condition that if used in a very careful manner, in a very good manner, you know how to use it, it can be a life changing platform for you, right? And sign up for the texts and emails and alerts, these job alerts, and just, I mean, be in touch with the people who can tell you about these things. So be aware. I don't know how. I told you a thousand, I mean, a number of things here. And I just want you to be aware, to talk to people, subscribe to the right channels, be present on the right platforms, create profiles on these websites, and you will be aware, right? You will be aware. So just preparation of these, jobs is not good enough. You have to be aware of the opportunities which are available for you, and you have to grab those opportunities whenever they come, right? So also, it's very important that you apply to the newest jobs first, right? It's like reverse chronology, right? Apply to the latest job first, because recruiters are hiring and they are hiring in a speedy manner, right? So it might be that the jobs will be closed soon, right? So apply to the job first and they're ready to join, right? So in the reverse chronology, the jobs which are posted recently, apply to them before posting to the previous posts. And do not do self doubt, do not self reject yourself. There might be certain job descriptions which might look too far fetched, right? But still, I would recommend you to apply for those roles as well. Reason being, sometimes luck might favor you and your skill set might be strong enough that you might end up getting a job there, right? And use the LinkedIn platform to network with people, make very meaningful network with people, you know. It's not like you will be sending job connection request on LinkedIn to some people for the referral requests only. Send requests, follow people who add value to your knowledge, who give you maybe inspirational content, maybe the content related to your area of interest, and learn from their content as well, right? And try to keep them in your connection, right? It's not just like you'll be sending out request only when you want a referral. That would be a very wrong thing to do. Okay, so engage with your professional network, appreciate them for the kind of work that they are doing, create a meaningful network with people. Okay, and the very last point that I would like to emphasize is beware of scams. A lot of people happen to do scams with the people who are in a very desperate need of jobs, right? Whenever any financial crisis occurs or hits, what happens is people become very desperate to finding the jobs, and other people, wicked people, they kind of take advantage of this. So do not fall for trap like I will get help you get a job. without any skill set, without anything, for 20,000 rupees or 1 lakh rupees, because nobody in the corporate would actually hire you for in exchange of 1 lakh rupees. They will be paying you, they will be investing in you for your skill set, right? So unless you own that skill set, nobody would be happy enough to give you a job, right? So I'll just take a pause here and we'll ask Hafsa if we have any questions so far.
Yes, we have one question which says, where should we
Mhm.
mention patents in the resume? If
Pet,
people patents, yeah.
okay. So yeah, very important section, although not many people have, patents, but all those people who have, it's kind of an achievement, and you should very clearly mention it in a in a what you call a subsection, a completely different section, patents and achievements. You can mention your patents there, and it's basically nothing but a project that you worked upon, and finally it got approved as a patent, right? So you can mention it in your patents and achievements, or maybe in your projects, and even bold that, because this is something which not many people do, right?
Yeah. I think we can go ahead with the next slide.
Sure,
Uh,
sure. Okay, now many people ask how networking can help me. Why do you keep saying that network, create profile on LinkedIn, read LinkedIn and make connections there, make meaningful connections there? How networking can help me get a job? So, not many people understand it, but let me tell you that networking can be can play an instrumental role in getting you a job, right? How? It's basically you connect with people, you appreciate their work, you consume their content, you might get motivated and maybe start creating content of your own. Maybe you create your profile so much in such an effective manner that your recruiter might land up on your profile and might see and get impressed with the kind of work that you have done in your area and might call you for an interview, right? So generally what happens is I see a lot of people who create their amazing LinkedIn profiles and they manage it so well, and they are super active on the platform, and multiple recruiters reach out to them, right? Because they have such a great profile. So you can use such platforms in a great manner, and also the fact that you can find a lot of already existing employers who can help you get a referral as well. So this is how you can use your networking, but the goal is to use it in an effective manner and make meaningful network, right? The goal is not to abuse your relationship, right? Do not, kind of pester people to give you a referral. Say, for example, you send out a message to 50 people to give you a referral. You can expect that out of 50 people, only one to two might respond, right? So do not think like why he or she is not responding. I should ping him again and again and again and again. And endlessly, you're pinging that person, right? It might be that once you join the industry, you'll see by yourself that people get busy there's a lot of work that they have to do and a lot of responsibility that they have to take care of, right? So not many people will respond to you, it's okay, but do not abuse your relationship for that, right? Take follow-ups 1 to 2 times. If they are not responding, it's okay, right? Be vocal about the fact that you are searching for jobs, right? So there is a flag that you can put on your LinkedIn profile photo itself, that open to work. So it is a very great feature of LinkedIn that it gives you a chance to be vocal on your profile, to show people and tell them that you are open to work through that banner or through that what you call flag, right? So you can explore those features to which might help you get a job. So use your network for these things. Maybe you can ask them to review your resume. So there are certain people or professionals who are so very happy to help people, so they might help you get your resume reviewed and tell you and give you suggestions around that. And you can also ask them for your LinkedIn profile review as well, because if you have a perfect looking LinkedIn profile, it increases your chances that some recruiter or some of the recruiter or HR might land up on your page or might call you for interview because you have the relevant experience, right? Also, you can ask them for the job search ideas. You can tell them that I want to work at your company. Can you tell me how do I do the job search? Where on all the platforms does your organization uh, publicize the openings or put the messages regarding the openings? So you can ask them regarding the job search ideas as well. And the last one is the mock interviews. I cannot emphasize enough on this point that it's very important that you do the mock interviews if you want to land a job. And you can request your network to take your mock interviews. Some people might charge very minimal, amount for that, and people might do it for free as well. So you can use your network to leverage all these things, right? Now, I would take a pause and again ask if there are questions regarding this.
Uh, we don't have any questions regarding the mock interviews and everything, but I do have one suggestion for someone who was saying if I think Sumit is saying, hello, ma'am. My resume is not getting shortlisted. Please review my resume. So we do have a community called Rebase on Discord. So I kind of dropped that link in the chat. So you can just join there. And we do have sub channels in the Discord in our community, specifically for resume reviews and also mock interviews. So we have some experts who can take your mock interviews for free, and they're also expert in their domain. So that would be a great place for you to explore your opportunities, new opportunities, or you want to review your resume or have mock interviews. I think you can just like maybe go have a look at the Discord community. So yeah, that's pretty much. And before we end this, I guess we just have one last question, Nidhi. I think we are
Sure, sure.
really almost on time. So one question is someone with over 15 years of experience would have multiple skills, but some of them would not have been recent. Should we specify them under secondary skills?
I did not understand primary skills and what are secondary skills here. As long as Hafsa, you were saying something?
Yeah, no, I think that's what it was mentioned over here. I think primary skills is something that he's working on right now, I guess. The secondary skills are something, let's say, when a person is having 15 plus years of experience, right? Maybe the skills that he worked on previously, that's what I'm trying to get
Okay,
out of it.
sure, sure.
Pratyush, please let us know if you have any more detail about the primary and secondary skills that you mentioning over here. Yeah.
Right. So Hafsa, as he asked, that there are definitely primary and secondary skills, but on your resume, you do not distinguish between the two, right? And I would suggest you not to mention the secondary skills, but just go through the job description as I already mentioned, right? So go through the job description and understand what is the eligibility criteria, what are they looking for, what are the recruiters looking for, right? And that will be the only skill set that you should mention, right? Of course, any person who is having an experience of 15 plus years, you must have definitely worked upon a diverse set of technologies and on multiple different projects, definitely understood. But not all of them will be valid when you are applying for your next role, right? There will be certain relevant experience, what we call relevant experience. So there will be relevant set of your skills that will be valid there, which matches the job description. So you do mention only those things, not all of the things, right, that you have learned so far, right? For an example, say I am good with the Microsoft Excel, MS Excel, and I am good at programming as well, right, in three different languages, for example. Now, I am different. I am also good at several different things, right? Now the point is, what should I mention there, right? Should I mention that I am a proficient, I am proficient in MS Excel, or should I mention that I am a great, programmer in these languages? The answer is you mention whatever is asked in the job description. If you are applying, say, for a product manager's role, and they're requiring you to have an experience of SQL, proficient experience of MS Excel. So you mentioned that there, right? And if they're asking you to have an experience of programming language, you mention for that role only programming experience. So read the job description and mention only the relevant skill set.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I think that was the last question for this session, Nidhi, and I'm really glad that we really had amazing, insightful, and very new questions that made us think a little bit more than what we could actually provide in the slides, right? So very glad to have an audience very insightful like this. So, okay, that brings us to the end of this wonderful session. And I would like to thank each one of you for joining us. Hope you learned something new from today's session. We look forward for your post on LinkedIn along with your key learnings. Do tag Nidhi, do tag Recro, and do tag me on your post so that we'll have a look on your learnings and we'll be more than happy to help you more and get your learnings further. Also, thank you so much, Nidhi, for joining us. It was awesome
Thank you
having you.
so
Thanks
much.
for taking out time and sharing such insightful and wonderful presentation with us.
Thank you so much, Hafsa, for inviting me over. And thank you, everyone, for being so patient and for all the great questions that you asked. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. So before we end this session, I have a few announcements to make. We have created a community for developers called Rebase. That's a closed community just for the working professionals. And like I said, we also have a few features in the community which will cater to your resume reviews, mock interviews, interview preparations, and coding rounds. So do check out Discord and join in and connect with the experts. And dropping the link of the community in the chat, you can go ahead and say hi to the people over there, introduce yourself, and we can get connected. We can get started with the connection and upskilling from there. So we have made a LinkedIn post about the session, and we are also live about with this webinar on our LinkedIn and YouTube. If you missed out on your on the initial part of the webinar, or if you want to rewatch on something that Nidhi has explained, do watch the live of LinkedIn and also YouTube. And if you want to share it, you can just share it with your friends, colleagues, and also your family members. I did drop a feedback form in the link, so do check out the feedback form and drop your insightful feedback over there. And if you want anything more elaborated in resume or any other topics that Nidhi usually talks about, we would be more than happy to have Nidhi for our next sessions. So do let us know what topics that you want for our next webinar or Recro talks, and we'll be more than glad to cater you with that topics. So if you have more questions, you can follow Nidhi and me on LinkedIn. So I'm dropping Nidhi's LinkedIn link in the chat. You can go ahead and give a follow to her. She's very active. She gives one-on-one mentorship and also webinars and talks in various colleges and also gives one-on-one sessions. So you utilize that and she'll be more than happy to reach out for you to help and she can connect with you and help you with the same. If you're exploring career opportunities, Recro is hiring passionate developers. Check out current openings at Recro, and we'll make sure that we will place you in the A-grade startups of the country. So if any of your friend, colleague is searching for a job, make sure that you share the Recro's careers page with them, and we'll make sure that we'll get them to work with amazing companies of the country. For to stay updated with such events, follow us on social media. Follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and the recording of this would be officially on YouTube within this week. But till then, you can go ahead and have a watch at the live, and let us know how do you feel about it and what were your learnings and takeaways from it. So that's all for this session, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope to see you in the next session. Take care, stay safe. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining
Thank
us.
you. Thank you.